All right. In three, two, one. Hello, and welcome to the first episode of the Forever Young cast. I'm your host, Don Delarente, and I'm joined by Miss Jupiter Julep.
Hello.
How are you?
Well, and you?
I'm good, thank you. And we are joined by our co-host, Miss Halisa. What's going on, Halisa?
I'm good. How are y'all?
We're good. We're good. Gonna let everybody know that you can find Forever Young Cast on CSPN at cspn.us. So, Miss Jupiter Julep, before we get started, let everybody know where they can find you on Twitter and interact with you and all that good stuff.
Okay, so you can find me on Twitter at JupiterJulep24.
And Halisa, give your Twitter information as well.
It's going to be Madam Lizette, Lazet.
All right. And you can follow me on Twitter at Don Delarente. So, ladies, we're here to talk about the Mae Young Classic, as this year they're going to release the episodes a week at a time so we can actually comment and have a show strictly for the Mae Young Classic. I didn't want to gum up the regular episode of the WrestleCast with too many reviews because it would make the show much longer than an hour or an hour and 15 minutes. So, thank you, ladies, for agreeing to join me on this adventure for the next few weeks as we talk about the Mae Young Classic. So we'll start off with the very first episode that took place this past week. We have Michael Cole, Beth Phoenix, and Renee Young on the commentary team. So first and foremost, how do y'all feel about the commentary team? So I'll start with Madam Lizette. Halisa, how do you feel?
I was surprised to see Michael Cole. I was excited to see Renee. And Beth Phoenix is growing on me. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. Like, I like how excited she is for the women, and I like how she kind of tries to focus on herself and like where she's come from and like being here and like the magnitude of the event. But I kind of tune her out when I'm listening to the show or when I'm watching the show. So because I don't see her on 205 Live, because I don't usually watch 205 Live, and I haven't really seen much of anything else she's done, like the Mixed Match Challenge and stuff like that. Like, I'm like, oh, Beth, you're not bad. Maybe you'll get better. And we'll go from there. I like Renee. She's exciting. And Michael Cole actually didn't like make too many mistakes. So I was happy about that.
All right. Jupiter Julep, your thoughts on the commentary team?
I liked it. I think that having a veteran like Michael Cole to hold their hand a little bit is a good thing to let, especially because Renee said, hey, I want to be back in the booth. I think that she will continue to grow on just in general. And I was really surprised by Beth Phoenix. I didn't know she was on 205 Live doing commentary.
I think I've seen her on there like once or twice, but I don't think she does it very often.
Yeah, she was doing more of the Mixed Match Challenge.
And then, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I think what they were doing was because she was doing it for the Mixed Match Challenge, and that was going on after Raw or after SmackDown. I think they were having her like maybe kind of sit in for a little bit. So I remember seeing her on there like once or twice, but like not that often.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't watch much of the Mixed Match Challenge because we get enough wrestling as it is. Like, I don't really want 30 more minutes and I have to like go to Facebook TV to watch it. I'm good. Like, I would just watch, like whatever little short videos they put online and go, oh, that wasn't bad, and keep going.
Mm-hmm. I did the same thing. And I'll also say about, for lack of a better term, this evolution with females on the booth and doing different things is I hope they continue that trajectory and hire female writers to tell better stories for the females that we see in NXT, during the Mixed Match Challenge, on Raw, on SmackDown, hopefully 205 Live and beyond.
I agree. I'm with that.
All right. So to start off, we get a video profile on our first two competitors of the night, Tegan Knox and Zatara. Tegan Knox was supposed to participate in last year's Mae Young Classic, but she tore her knee right before the tapings were supposed to start, so she could not make it. And Zatara is the first woman from Chile to ever compete in the WWE. So this was a really cool matchup of different type of styles. We start out with Tegan Knox. She goes up top and she hits a high cross body block and she gets 2 count. Zatara cuts Tegan Knox off and follows up with a missile drop kick. The corner knees follow and Zatara covers and she gets 2 count. Tegan Knox avoids some strikes and then she hits the Shining Wizard and Tegan Knox gets the win. So she's the first person to advance to the second round. They seem really high on her. Michael Cole for sure was like, she's one to watch. So we'll start with Jupiter Julep. Your thoughts on Tegan Knox versus Zatara?
The note that I had next to her name was Final Four. I agree with, they seem to be really high on her presentation, the footage that they had of her when she was injured, and just a conversation of how Triple H spoke about her. And also she's from the UK, right?
I'm not sure about that.
I think I thought they said she was Irish or maybe from the Netherlands.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think I wrote UK. Well, either way, I know that, wasn't she also a part of their European brand?
I know that she wasn't on. I know Killer Kelly was on the UK show. I'm not sure if Tegan Knox was or not.
You're right. She's from the UK. She is Welsh.
Okay.
And apparently she is going to be in NXT UK when they really start putting that on television.
And I'm thinking that she's probably going to be a star there, and they need to establish her so that when they do promotions like Evolution and they bring people in, or the Royal Rumble, hopefully that is something that they will continue to do, that they need those people that are recognizable and can get a pop. So I think she's going to the Final Four, and I did like her. I like Zatara a little bit better, but I did like Tegan Knox, and I can definitely see the appeal and her potential.
Okay. Halisa, your thoughts on Tegan Knox getting her first victory in the Mae Young Classic?
I was excited to see her because they've been talking about this story about how she was supposed to compete last year and she couldn't because of her ACL. So watching her wrestle and everything, I found it to be kind of exciting. I like her a little bit more than Dakota Kai, who is like her best friend. I think Dakota can be a little bit too smiley. Tegan had like a lot of heart that she was putting out there, and you could really tell like she was really driven. And like you said, I kind of have her like, okay, if you don't make it to the finals, like the semifinals, then I feel like it's a bust because you can tell WWE, or at least Triple H, has put a lot behind her. I did like Zatara, just seeing her wrestle and everything and not really knowing much about her, and the fact that she's the first Chilean to like be in a WWE ring is really important too. I thought they had a good match, but I think that Tegan shined more, and I kind of knew just from coming into it and then like how they did the introduction and just her overall reception that Tegan was gonna get the win, which I guess is okay.
Yeah, they had a really good match. I thought they went back and forth. Zatara got to show some of her lucha style, and Tegan Knox got to show some of her British style going into the different moves and transitions. So I thought they had a really good match. Next, we get video profiles on our next two competitors, who are Rhea Ripley and MJ Jenkins. Rhea Ripley's story is she competed last year in the Mae Young Classic, and she didn't kick out when she was probably supposed to. She got like side suplexed and got pinned, and her shoulder stayed down. And MJ Jenkins is Black Girl Magic from Brooklyn, right? Brooklyn?
Yeah. Brooklyn? Yes, it was Brooklyn.
She's the Afrolicious diva, so that's all you need to know about her. So a lot of energy, a lot of charisma for her. So we get into the match. MJ Jenkins, she misses a charge, but then she hits a head kick and springboards in with the missile drop kick and covers for a 2 count. Rhea Ripley then counters another head kick, and then she hits the pump handle power bomb, and Rhea Ripley gets the win. So, Miss Halisa, your thoughts on this match, MJ Jenkins and Rhea Ripley?
So I was really looking forward to Rhea Ripley because I liked her last year. She had a lot of spunk, and I think she's gonna be a great heel. And she's really, really young. Like, I think she's barely 21, 22. Like, she's really, really young. So I was really excited to like see her and watch the match. But then MJ Jenkins like she got the sauce. I don't know. I liked her theme music. I liked her walk to the ring. I just liked her little persona. The fro was popping. I was like, you know what? This is gonna be fun. And so watching them, you could tell that Rhea really had a lot that she wanted to prove, which was just like, I have gotten better. I am not the same like hot shotty kid from last year. Like, I came to dominate. So I don't know if they're going to put her in like the final four, but I think that she might make it to like the Elite Eight in a form. But I think it was a good showing for both of them. I want to see more of MJ Jenkins, really. Like, I want to see if I can catch some YouTube clips or something, because I really liked her and her character, and I liked them together. Rhea was just way more dominating, and she healed it up, and I was with it. I love a good heel, so I was for it.
Hashtag heel life.
For life.
Miss Jupiter Julep, your thoughts on Rhea Ripley and her win, moving on to the next round of the Mae Young Classic?
Now, you know, I want to talk about MJ Jenkins. So the only thing I wrote about Rhea Ripley was Diesel. When I saw her come out with the outfit and everything, I said, "Oh, Diesel." So let's talk about MJ Jenkins.
Don't be. You know, that's my silver fox now. Come on now.
There's nothing wrong with it. It was just like that's who and what I saw. I mean, and just think about the career Kevin Nash has had. You know, from Diesel. So, you know, but that is what I saw when she came out. Like, oh, Diesel. And then there was MJ Jenkins. Her character is really clear, because the first thing she was on, she said, I wrote down, MJ Jenkins is a whole lot of third person. Because she said MJ Jenkins is going to do this and MJ Jenkins is going to do that. And I think she said MJ Jenkins is a whole lot of woman. And I thought, oh, Foxy Cleopatra from Austin Powers 3. So when she came out to the Beyonce-esque music, I said, oh, she has got a full character where she knows exactly who she is. And then the booty shake, I was like, oh, she ain't going to win, because that was just too much ass. But I mean, they just wasn't resting. No, they're not ready for that today. So I knew that, but I also could see the spark and the potential. And it's also interesting to know that she was trained by the Dudleys. And then I also want to know, I also wrote, I could see her as a heel who sprays Afro Sheen in the faces of her opponents. And I want to know if her finishing move is a Soul Glow. Like, I can just see all of the character development that she could do. She's
full blaxploitation. I'm with it. Wait, can we put her with like Velveteen Dream? Make them a duo?
Listen, I have pairs, like, because I could see that. So like, I don't know. I don't think that Velveteen Dream, I know they got the third person, but he is so self-centered that I don't like, I can just hear him saying Velveteen does not work in teams. You know, like, no, the Dream isn't.
That's true.
That's true.
That's true.
But I really, really liked her. I knew she wasn't going to win, but I could just see the character and the pretend after or past or through the Mae Young Classic.
Yeah, she's definitely someone that they need to try to scoop up and get into their system, because she has what most people lack right off. And you said it perfect, a defined character with the charisma to go with it. So the wrestling part, she can definitely do that as well. But the character is a big part in WWE, and she definitely has a hold of that. So good luck to MJ Jenkins and whatever she does going forward. She definitely showcased herself very well in this match.
Amen.
She did.
Yes, amen.
This is the Mae Young cast. It's the Mae Young podcast about the Mae Young Classic. Excuse me. I'll get it right in a second. The Forever Young cast. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, SoundCloud, and Google Play. So we're going to move on to our next match, where we had Lacey Lane versus Vanessa Craven. The profiles are Lacey Lane used to be a Division II basketball player for Shaw University. She was the point guard on the team that won the national championship. And Vanessa Craven is like a 6'1" woman who was very impressive, very strong, very intimidating. So Lacey Lane versus Vanessa Craven. Lacey Lane hits a running knee strike. Craven cuts Lacey off with a black hole slam for a 2 count. Craven misses a cannonball, and Lacey Lane follows up with right hands, and then she hits a crucifix bomb, and Lacey Lane gets the win. So, Miss Jupiter Julep, your thoughts on Lacey Lane versus Vanessa Craven?
Okay, so you're gonna have to excuse my terminology, but what I wrote down in terms of Lacey Lane was tragic mulatto. Why was her story? Yeah, I said it. Why was her story like I'm a biracial child and there was bullying and all of this implied racism? I don't even know, but that is what they went for. That I am biracial and therefore I had issues. What say what now? I mean, you like you said, the girl, they said that she led her team to a Division II team at Shaw University to a championship. You didn't want to go from I'm small but mighty or whatever it is, or I'm driven, or none of that. It was tragic mulatto. So I don't know what to say about that other than good Lord, sis, you need some better character development and writing. Her look, though, was very similar to Ember Moon's. Like when she came out with the braids, with the colored contacts. Well, maybe they're not colored contacts, but with the eyes, with the mouth guard. I mean, I saw her and I thought, oh, they would be an interesting tag team. I also thought that Vanessa Craven could tag very well with Nia Jax, and that they could be almost like the twin towers of just, or what was it? What was the tag team with the Big Show and Undertaker?
The Brothers of Destruction?
The Brothers of Destruction.
I thought that was Kane and Undertaker.
Oh, that was Brothers. Okay. Who'd you say in Undertaker?
Big Show.
Oh, I don't know. I don't even think they had a name.
Oh. I don't think they did, but then like they had like that whole Andre and Big Show thing, that Big Show was Andre's kid or whatever.
Lord,
I can't remember what it was. I can't remember what the
that was WCW storyline.
Yeah, I can't remember what they called them though, but yeah.
The Giant, I think. Well, either way, I mean, just aesthetically, yeah, I could see those two. Like if WWE went for a women's tag team division, I could see Lacey Lane and Ember Moon being a tag team quite easily, and I could also see Vanessa Craven and Nia Jax being a tag team easily as well. I will say that Vanessa Craven had pretty good physicality. I mean, the story that they were telling, Michael Cole said it in the beginning, it was David and Goliath, where Lacey Lane had a lot of energy. And I think the story was supposed to be her small energy was supposed to make the big, clumsy giant stumble. And unfortunately, what we saw was that some of her energy was a little too hard to contain even for herself. So I know that she signed to WWE, she will only get better. So if she's got a lot of athleticism, and she, with Lacey Lane, I could see her teaming well with men. I think they said she was in a ring with men, but if they ever did a Lucha Underground real mixed match things, I could see her really putting together an interesting program with some other styles of wrestlers, I think.
All right. Halisa, your thoughts on Lacey Lane and Vanessa Craven?
So I kind of thought the same thing about Lacey Lane, which was like, oh, we're going to dredge up I'm a mixed kid who had a hard life. And I was just like, that's where we're going with that? Like, we couldn't do anything else? Because you're telling me you had a hard life, but in the same breath, you're like, but I led my team to a championship. So it takes a lot of heart. And I did watch Bracketology. And so when they interviewed her on there, I was just like, still not sure. Because Morrow made a point to be like, so you're mixed. And I was just like, why do we have to talk about that? Like, mixed kids pop up all the time. We don't live in like the 50s. This is a normal thing now. Mixed kids are a thing. And so that was interesting. Now that you said something, Julep, I realize that she does give me Ember vibes. And that might be why I was like, I don't know. Like, I like you, but like, can we get rid of the color contacts? If they're not contacts, my bad. And then whatever we're doing with like the green hair, gray, I don't know. fix it. Like, someone fix it. Because even like Ember was at the show and I was like, man, she is still wearing that red and orange yellow weave. And somebody needs to help her. We need to get it together. But the match itself, the crucifix is one of my favorite finishers. So when she hit that, I was like, oh, this is great. Like, I was blown away. Like, I was like, oh, this is fantastic. Because I love that finish. I think that when it's done right, it can be a knockout. And it can really be one of those, like, people never kick out of this finisher type deal. So I did enjoy that. I agree with you, too, that she had a whole bunch of energy that she needs to learn how to contain and control. And Vanessa Craven, while she is like a giant, I didn't find her to be like super clunky, because I've seen some people where you're like, wow, you were really clunky in the ring. And it's just because you're big. I didn't find her to be super clunky. So I feel like if she does decide that she wants to like pursue this or maybe join the WWE, she can hone in on that and become a little bit more fluid in the ring, even though she is so big. Kind of like Piper Niven was last year. Because like Piper Niven was super imposing last year, but she's not super clunky to be a bigger girl. I did say that Vanessa Craven was gorgeous but imposing. That's what I got from her. Like, I thought she was really cute. I liked the horn look that she was going with, and everything. And so the match itself was actually pretty good. I would say it was probably my second favorite match of the show, besides the one we're going to talk about next.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think they did a good job. I just think they probably need a little bit more time in the ring with each other. And like, shout out to Vanessa Craven for liking my tweet about her. She just liked it like within the last hour, so I had to throw that in there. I was like, hey guys, they see us. So yeah, that's what I thought about that match and about those two.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good match. Lacey Lane's got a lot of potential. Once she learns how to slow down just a little bit, I think she'll be just fine. And Vanessa Craven definitely has a very WWE type look. So I'm pretty sure that if they can, that she'll definitely be a part of the company in the coming years, if they can get her involved in the Performance Center. So I think both of those ladies had a great match and they showed very well. Next, we get a Natalya interview. She's honored to be here to watch the Mae Young Classic, and she says that she's rooting for Mia Yim and Io Shirai. Two good choices.
Very good choices.
We get video profiles for Miko Satomura and Killer Kelly. Miko Satomura, they show her wrestling as a 15 or 16-year-old kid on Nitro like 20 years ago. And she talks about how she was so young and just, happy to be there, that, she got beat in like a minute or whatever, just a squash match. And then Killer Kelly, they showed her, she participated in the UK women's match that they had. I think I had a 3-way or 4-way during that event. And then they showed highlights of her competing in that match. So Miko Satomura versus Killer Kelly. Killer Kelly looks for the Spider German off of the ropes, but instead she gets a hanging dragon sleeper that she has to release by the 5 count. Killer Kelly releases the sleeper and then follows with kicks and hits the corner drop kick. The fisherman suplex follows for 2, and then Kelly lays in strikes, but Satomura cuts her off with the Pele kick. Satomura then hits the Death Valley driver, and Miko Satomura moves on to the next round. So this was definitely the match of the night between these two ladies. And Lisa, I'll let you share your thoughts next.
So Miko was amazing. That's all. Like, I was blown away. And like, no, like, not even knocking Killer Kelly, because Killer Kelly, like, the way she came out to the ring, like, her whole steeds, her healing it up too, like, she was amazing too. But Miko was just like, I was blown away. I need to go back and rewatch the match. That's kind of how I feel, because I was watching these while I was at work, and so I stopped working and just focused on the match and was just like, this is amazing. Like, I was blown away. It's kind of how I felt when Tessa Blanchard wrestled last year. It's like, damn, this match should have probably went on like further down the line, because I feel like I'm being gypped. Like, we got this out in the first round. What's gonna happen next? Like, is Miko about to just come through and dominate everyone? And Killer Kelly, like, I'm just like, okay, so Miko is final. Like, Miko's final. She's top 2. I don't care. Like, I really am like, she can win it. It's cool. I love Asuka so much, but Miko, I was just like, Asuka, I'm sorry, girl. Like, I'm sorry. She's amazing. The match was so good. I enjoyed it a lot. And Killer Kelly, you can tell that she was just like really emotional at the end, and you could tell she gave it her all, but she can't hang. Like, it's a legend. And I love that everyone, the way they were talking about Miko was just like everyone wants to beat her. Like, the rite of passage in Japan is to wrestle her and hopefully beat her. That in itself just speaks like mounds of like how important she is to Japanese wrestling for women and just what kind of character and wrestler that she is. So I'm looking forward to seeing her. She is, for me, like number one contender, finals, MVP, whatever. Like, she's great. Good match.
Okay. Jupiter Julep.
I concur. The things that I wrote down about her talked about her grace and her confidence. And what I liked was like everyone did speak with her with respect and reverence. And then Miko got in the ring and backed it up. And so what I saw with Killer Kelly is someone almost like this is a star making match for her, because if you weren't sure about her, she got in the ring with Miko, held her own, made, the match was great. They both look good. They both look strong. And I think that speaks volumes for Killer Kelly. I will say that, like you, Halissa, it was almost like, okay, where do you go from Miko? And I think that it will come down to a bracket with Miko versus Io. I think that Io will win because Io is signed to WWE. And I think that Miko will go back to Japan, where she has her promotion and the work that she does. So I think that that's where it's heading. But I think that Io versus Miko match is going to be everything. And I think that's my prediction.
All right. So that was the first round of the Mae Young Classic. Very entertaining. Great, opening episode with a fantastic main event. Those last two matches were definitely two great showcases. And then Tegan Knox finally getting a chance to participate in the event was definitely a feel-good story as well. So I'll give it up to Halissa for your, final thoughts on the episode and shout outs and thank yous.
I would say thank you guys for having me on. Episode 1 was great. I'm happy that they're doing it week by week instead of giving us 4 shows a week, because that was a lot of wrestling to cram in. And I think that the matches got lost in the shuffle. So now, like, I get a week to kind of reflect on this one, and we'll get ready for the next one next week. Shout outs, of course, to my best friend who got me into wrestling. Dawn, thank you. Jupiter Julep, thank you. Baycast for supporting me being on the show again. I'm excited and can't wait to talk more wrestling.
All right. Thank you for joining us, Elisa. Miss Jupiter Julep, turn it over to you for your final thoughts on the episode and your shout outs and thank yous.
Yeah. So I wrote down a few things. The first thing is I did appreciate the use of women throughout the episode. So we discussed the fact that we had Beth Phoenix and Renee Young on the commentary booth. There was Charlie Caruso doing bracketology. Kayla Braxton is the announcer. You do have one female referee whose name I missed. And because I actually made a note about that, because the first match was done by a man, and like he was checking the boots and stuff. I'm like, what? They don't have any women backstage? So they do have one, and I'm glad. And at one time or another, I think we need to discuss when Triple H became synonymous with women's wrestling, because he is.
I'm here for that.
It's when he hired Sarah D'Amato to become the #1 trainer. She's really the one that's like behind everything. Triple H is just the person who pushed it and was like, hey, these girls are good enough to be in main events and to end these NXT shows. And so since he's got that type of stroke, he could get them in places that they hadn't been before. But the real person behind how good the women are is Sarah D'Amato.
And I'm wondering why it isn't Stephanie McMahon.
Oh, because she's not training nobody.
No, but I mean, that's like synonymous with women's wrestling in that you have what the women did at NXT. You have now the Women's Royal Rumble. You have Evolution. You have the women's, I think they are calling it the Evolution, and now the pay-per-view Evolution, or whatever we may think it of it. It's now in existence where WWE is shining a light on women's wrestling in a way that they hadn't really before. And the person getting the praise and the credit for it is Triple H. And I said, I understand, like, behind the scenes is Sarah D'Amato doing the work, and I'm sure there's countless other people that we don't know. However, and of course the athletes themselves, the women athletes themselves, but why is he the face? Why is he synonymous with it?
Probably.
Well, I think that. Oh,
go for it.
Well, I think that the reason why we're having that is because he is like the godfather NXT. And NXT is really what I think changed the landscape of what we recognize as women's wrestling in WWE. Now, like, if it wasn't for Paige, Charlotte, Becky, Sasha, Bayley, Ember, Asuka, like all of them being in NXT and him giving them the reins, like he let them have an Iron Women's match. Like he let them take the reins of their matches and with Sarah plan out some excellent shows. And so I think he gets the one that gets the credit because NXT is his baby. And he's still doing that work. Like a lot of these women that we're going to watch in the Mae Young Classic are going to be a part of the NXT UK show. And he's putting them on our television now so that we can get accustomed to seeing them when they do launch the UK brand. So I think he gets a lot of that credit because NXT is his. And he, without him kind of saying and agreeing, like if Charlotte and, you know, Natty want to have this drag out match, or if Charlotte and Sasha and Bayley and Becky want to have this 4 horsemen thing going and have these drag out matches, you know, at these takeover shows or even on our regular weekly NXT shows and build this women's title to be what it is, if he doesn't sign off on that, we don't get this. And Stephanie isn't that much involved with the NXT shows. So I don't think she gets to have that same say. So I think that's why when they do stuff on the main roster, she's the one who delivers the message because Vince isn't going to come out there and deliver it. So it kind of has to be that thing. But Triple H gets a lot of that plug because, I mean, NXT is his baby. And all of these female wrestlers, these women's wrestlers that we love who are on the main roster now, a lot of them that, you know, weren't in the WWE prior, like Naomi and all of them, like they came from NXT and they had these great matches in NXT and they're still having great matches on the main roster when they're given the time and like the right storyline and stuff. So I don't think it doesn't bother me so much because he does gives a lot of props to Sarah. Like he does make a point to be like, look, I can't do this without her. But I don't have a problem with him taking credit for the fact that this evolution is kind of his, just because he made NXT what it is.
See, so if I'm hearing you correctly, you're drawing a line directly from like the women's evolution to NXT, which is Triple H's baby.
Right.
Okay, so for me, that's part of my question. But when I hear Triple H, I'm thinking DX. I'm thinking the Click. I'm thinking all these other things of his career that I've seen, including the Blue Blood. And all of that from the Attitude Era, including some of the racist stuff he did, because I will never forget that blackface crap or forgive it. Yeah. However, out of that legacy of wrestling, what he is known for now is women's wrestling. So it's like, when did that happen where he's synonymous with it? And that, and you know, like as far as a legacy goes, if you did a documentary on Triple H's life or Jean-Paul Levesque's life, how much of it will be women's wrestling? How much of it will be the Click? How much of it will be DX? How much of it will be the Blue Blood or whatever else? And so that's kind of where I was really going from it. Like, when did he become synonymous with it? And why not separate the character of Triple H, the wrestler, from Jean-Paul Levesque?
I think, Oh, go ahead, Don,
Let me
since you
jump
already
in.
answered.
When I first started watching NXT, you know what drew me to NXT? Because I heard about two people, Charlotte Flair and Sasha Banks. And so that was the drawing point was, hey, they got some really good women's wrestling going on down in NXT. So that drew me in to check it out. I think what Halisa was trying to say is NXT's version of women's wrestling is the version of women's wrestling that all women have wanted to see on television, where it's, hey, they're pure wrestling. They can do just as many things as the guys, flips, ropes, the matches, all that type of stuff. So all that type of stuff started with NXT, and with Triple H being the face of NXT, then he kind of got grandfathered into being the champion of this women's wrestling because it was a major part of the television shows, not just the takeovers. But when I first started watching it, the Charlotte Sasha Banks was like one of the biggest storylines on the show. And, you know, Sasha trying to chase Charlotte to get the belt, and then they started out as the BFFs, and then they had a breakup, and then that led to them having their title matches, and Sasha eventually, you know, becoming the champion, and Charlotte moving on. And then, of course, we get Sasha and Bayley. And I think when they had, which was considered the match of the year for all wrestling, at Brooklyn Takeover between Sasha and Bayley, then I think that's when everybody was like, okay, Triple H is making this happen. It was the main event of the takeover that's happened a couple of times. It's the best match in wrestling all year. So the props has to go to Triple H. And I think that's kind of how he got grandfathered into being the quote unquote face of women's wrestling.
And I also think that, like, as wrestling fans, people who watch NXT and watch WWE, they have two different views of Triple H. They have NXT Triple H. Like, I love NXT Triple H. I used to watch takeovers just so that he could come out and do like cut the promo before the show, because he made you be like, I want to watch this. And then there's Triple H that we see that's the authority, and a lot of people don't like that Triple H. But we love NXT Triple H because NXT Triple H gave us, like Don said, Charlotte and Sasha and Bayley in the main event of Takeover, which never happens. And he let them actually wrestle and do the things that the guys do better than the guys in a lot of situations. And he continues to give us that. And he's continuing to develop that. Like Rhea Ripley, he's had a hold of her for a whole year in NXT, and allowing her to grow and develop, because he saw her, on the Mae Young Classic, and was like, yo, that girl is talented. She just needs to be honed. Like, he is a good eye for talent, and he is a good eye for women's talent, and he's allowing those women in NXT to put on matches that, hell, we still don't necessarily get on the main roster.
Yep. So the future is bright if whenever Vince decides that he wants to step away and give Triple H the reins to the whole kingdom. I think the enjoyment of the wrestling fans will definitely go up because Triple H, he watches other wrestling outside of WWE, and
That's
he's
true.
aware of people outside of WWE. And so that allows him to always keep NXT fresh. Whereas Vince only watches what's his own product. So he doesn't have any point of reference for what else is going on or what else is out there. And I think that's the difference between NXT and main roster, is that NXT just is more current with the pacing of the matches and the stories and what the guys are allowed to do. So I think that's kind of where Triple H, that's where he's kind of benefited from not being so caught up in the just WWE only bubble, that he's into a lot of other wrestling as well. So
yeah, like he even lets the guys, because I think Velveteen, they said, was just at like Evolve a couple of weeks ago, something like that. And then I think Mustache Mountain and the Bruiserweight, they always get to go back and do like Progress or PWG. Like, he lets them go back to their, stomping grounds and their indie shows and their indie like pay-per-view type deals and wrestle. and be involved, and they don't have to necessarily cut those ties. And he's writing these kind of contracts where it's like, all right, so you are employed by WWE full time, so when we need you, you got to come. But if you want to go wrestle for Progress or PWG or Evolve, hell, you might be able to like eventually be able to do TNA or ROH or New Japan. We're okay with that. Like, he's giving them the Chris Jericho deal, but letting them defend their titles against people in other,
It's
territories and stuff like that, it's legit.
yeah, they have a working relationship with a few of these higher end indie companies. So anytime you see a WWE guy going back to Evolve or something, they've got some type of partnership. It's not just off the blue. So they are affiliated with WWE in a loose capacity. But yeah, I think with what All In tried to show everybody is that, hey, it would be cool if we could get everybody to kind of intermingle and play with each other and not have such set, boundaries set up where, oh, if you're in the WWE, there's no way you could wrestle a guy in TNA or anything like that. The only difference is it depends on if it's like a neutral TV, then it can work. But when it comes to like whose television it's on, that's when all the politics get in and who's going to lose and who's going to win, and that's what kind of clouds it up. But if you can kind of keep it in a neutral thing like All In was, then I think that it would definitely lead to something that could be really cool in the future. I don't know how much of that Triple H is gonna try to incorporate if he does get a chance, but as long as Vince is running the show, that won't happen. So,
At
once you
all.
get to WWE, that's where you're at, and you won't be showing up anywhere else. At least that's televised anyway. Um, Outside of that, so. But that's a very interesting question. Thanks for bringing that up, Jupiter Jewel.
Welcome.
Good
Yeah.
content. Talk
Good
about Triple H.
discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been your host, Don Delarente. I've been joined by Jupiter Julep and Madame Lizette. You can follow them both on Twitter. You can also follow me on Twitter at Don Delarente. And so until next week, this has been episode 1 of the Forever Young cast. You can check us out each and every week after the May Young Classic. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Okay, ladies, I appreciate it. I will edit this up early in the morning, take out some of my mistakes, and find that song that you wanted, Jupiter Julep, for the intro and put this all together. So hopefully I'll have it out sometime Sunday morning by 10
Ooh,
tomorrow
what song
morning.
is it?
It's China's theme.
Oh, I'm down for that.
I'm gonna give China her due. If they don't want to, we are.
Look, okay, so like watching the Four Corners match, like Jupiter, I can't wait till you watch All In, because that Four Corners match, Tessa Blanchard came out, and I was like, is she China's little sister or what? Like, oh,
She's got her daddy's jaw.
look, she does, but it's okay. Like,
Yeah.
I was describing her to my mom, because my mom, she used to, like, she watched wrestling way back in the day. So certain wrestlers I can bring up, like Dusty or like DDP or something, and she knows what I'm talking about. But if I go like Stone Cold and The Rock, she knows what I'm talking about. If I get too new, she'd be like, I don't know who that is. But I was like, okay, Ma, do you remember the Four Horsemen? And she was like, nah. I was like, you remember China? Yeah. Okay. Tessa Blanchard looks like China, only she's not as masculine. She's a little bit more feminine, and she's a little bit shorter and a little bit she's not as stocky. And I was like, but she's gorgeous. My mom was like, oh, she sounds gorgeous. Doesn't she though? Oh, when you get to that Four Corners match, I need you to like call me, FaceTime or something. That match was it was awesome. It was so awesome.
Yeah, that match is actually really good. The four ladies match from All In. Yeah, it's really good. It's Tessa Blanchard, Madison Rain, Chelsea Green, and Britt Baker. Yeah, it's really good.
Britt Baker is the dentist who's dating Adam Cole, right?
Yeah, Mrs. Adam Cole, baby.
She came out to his old music.
She did. My best friend, like, he was geeked. He was so geeked. I was sitting there like, I don't know this. And then it dawned on me, I was like, is this Adam Cole's theme music? And he was like, yes. Yeah. And then Chelsea is Zack Ryder's girlfriend.
Okay.
And then Tessa Blanchard, you know who that is. And
that's Ricochet's girlfriend.
Oh, that's right. That is Ricochet's girlfriend. I forgot about that part. And then Madison Rain is
Bubba Ray's
Ashley
wife, right?
Rain.
Isn't that
She's
Bubba Ray's
Ashley.
wife?
Is it? I don't
I
know.
thought
One,
Is
that was
it?
Velvet Sky.
oh yeah, I was
Oh
about to
yeah,
say one
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
those is his wife, but it's not her.
You're right. You're right. And then Madison Rain is Ashley Rain in the Mae Young Classic, so you'll get to watch her on both shows.
Okay. Yeah, because I heard the play on words about knockout and impact. And I thought, oh yeah, she does kind of sort of look familiar when I peeked in and out of Impact. Okay. Or TNA back in my day.
Yeah. And I like the fact that like it seems like they're kind of allowing them to say like, at least on the bracketology, they were like, oh, this person used to wrestle or was a knockout back in the day. Like they weren't trying to hide away from the fact that they've wrestled other places. So that's nice too. But yeah, that women's match, that was my favorite match of All In. Like I love Cody and Aldis's match, but that's also because I was supercharged and I was crying. Like I cried when he came out. I cried the whole match. I was just like, I can't do this right now. Dusty would be so proud. Like, I was in tears the whole time because Cody he's become everything that I like never thought that he would be. Honestly. Like I watch old WWE shows, old Raws and old SmackDowns, and I was like, Cody, you was really generic. Watching Cody now, and it's like he's great. He's amazing. He might be one of my favorite wrestlers right now. So, but when you watch the women's match, it stole the show for me, honestly. Like, it stole the show for me. It was so good. And it was
It's
just
really
great
good.
to see women wrestle.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's one of the critiques. You know what, though? If they do it again, one of the critiques that I did hear about it was that it was a four corners match, but that was the only women's wrestling match on the card. And they could have had two matches, like just broken it down so it's like 2 and 2.
The way they had this thing timed out, they
couldn't.
they got them in where they got them in where they could have a full match because the main event got cut down in half because Okada and Marty Scurll took up all the time.
Oh, Don, I meant to say that because I listened to the Wrestlecast. Marty is the only one who has a long-term contract or ROH, so he ain't coming to WWE.
Oh, he's not? Okay.
Yeah. Wade Keller said that on his podcast because my best friend told me about it. Wade Keller said that the other day on his podcast before All In. He said out of all of them with contracts, Marty's is the longest, and so Marty would be the last one to come if he could come. Like Kenny's is up in February, the Bucks is up in like January. I think Paige and Cody's are up in January too. So they all wanted to jump ship. They could jump ship, but Marty would be the only one who isn't. I think we just think that Marty's leaving because Deonna Purrazzo is signed to NXT and that's his, girlfriend, and they just bought this house in Orlando. So obviously, like it's gonna be we're staying, but Marty can't go no time soon.
Okay, cool.
Unless they buying out his deal. But yeah, I thought the same thing you did. And then I talked to my best friend about it. And he was like, nope, you're wrong. And I was like, oh, okay, thanks.
Cool. Well, if I was them, I wouldn't go anywhere near there.
I wouldn't either. Yo, they played a really bad trick on people. Kayfabe magazine or something put out an article that was like, the Bucks are leaving or have signed to WWE as the new age rockers or something like that. when I tell you, like all I saw was the Bucks sign to WWE and my heart dropped like in the pit of my stomach, and I was just like, oh, I feel sick.
I don't think any of them would go. I mean, the deal would have to be too sweet. I mean, and I think that they wouldn't have to be booked as attractions because of what they're able to do and the freedom that they are having and the negotiation power and the money that they get to control. I mean, why would you give up freedom for servitude? And the one person who knows better than anybody is Cody. He knows what he left from.
Exactly.
I don't know. I mean, they would darn near have to create another promotion for them to run.
Yeah, like
I think
they talked about it on the Jericho show, which was a really good interview too. And they like Cody was like, I have so much creative control now. Like why I don't he was like, if I go sign to the WWE, they're gonna tell me what I'm supposed to do and how I'm supposed to look and when I'm supposed to stay, and I don't want to deal with that. I get to do whatever I want. I just book, like we just put together an entire show and booked a whole show. No, like I would never do that.
Why go corporate if you don't have to?
Right. I think All In probably solidified the idea of we ain't got to go nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Because like they said that too.
Yeah.
They were just like a lot of people weren't even talking about their matches. They were talking about like, yo, that All In that being the elite episode you put on YouTube and y'all did this, this, and this, or like
Mm-hmm.
the whole running thing with Joey Ryan and Adam Page. Like all of they were talking about that. He's like, I was blown away by how many people watch being the elite more than they actually watch us wrestle.
Because of someone like me that I have access to that. I mean, I didn't have access to New Japan. Now we do get ROH in Baltimore, but the problem with it is that they show the same episodes over and over again. So when I tape it or I watch it, I'm like, I just saw this episode, or I just saw this. So it convinces me that I don't need to watch it because I don't see a progression of episodes at all.
I agree.
And that's a problem. But I can watch Being the Elite. I'm also a soap opera watcher, so they're tickling my funny bone with their programming. And I think that what they're showing is that the talents that the Young Bucks and that Cody and perhaps Brandy, I'm not entirely too certain, have go far beyond their in-ring competition. Like you should hire them to book. You should hire them to write. You should hire them to produce. You should hire them for other things where you would think you got to think beyond what they can do in the ring right now.
That's true. I agree.
Yeah.
Yep. So I think they should stay on the outside, just do the thing here with New Japan and ROH, and just continue to try to like create new ways to come up with it, with new and exciting places for people to show up. Because I mean, if they could get to a point where they can incorporate this into like maybe one of the ROH pay-per-view lineups and it's just their show where they run it, it could be a really good deal for them. And then they can bring in all the outside people who want to work with them and everything. And then, you know, there's never going to be a number one, but if everybody grouped up together, they could all be number two.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and if you have an All In, that's essentially the indie WrestleMania, where it's like a super card of everybody doing their thing. I mean, it does kind of make sense if you can do it. So I'm excited. I think that I'm excited to watch it and see, you know, what it is, because before someone blessed me so kindly with a link, I was all up on Instagram for clips. So I've seen some clips, but then I stopped once I got access.
Go to the New Japan World, download that, use my information. You can watch the whole thing.
Be all up in it now because, you know, it's one of those things. So I didn't listen to that Young Bucks interview, and I haven't been listening to critiques on it because now that I have access to it, I want to watch it for myself and then listen to what other people have to say.
And then turn around and then watch the two. By the time you probably get to it, it'll probably be about 3 or 4 New Japan episodes, the Destruction ones. The main event from last night was Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi versus Ishii and, damn it, who was his tag team partner? It wasn't Yano, but it was really good because they were building up to this Tomohiro Ishii Kenny Omega title match on like the 16th, I think it is. It's coming up really soon. So that's going to be really good. And then this morning, the main event was Juice Robinson and Tanahashi versus Okada and Yoshihashi.
Who talks to Cat?
Cat mean? Oh, like, you're talking about Hiromu Takahashi.
You're talking about Daryl.
Yeah, Hiromu, he broke his neck at the Long Beach show when he wrestled Dragon Lee. And so he's been out of action for the past like 2 or 3 months. So, yeah.
They're about to have a junior weight tournament.
Yeah, they're about to have a tournament. Yeah.
To crown the new champion.
Right.
So, yeah. They haven't really said much about Hiromu, and that makes me really nervous because I love him. I love him and Daryl.
They said that he's doing better. He's healing, but they haven't determined like, hey, he's gonna be back in February or anything like that.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's been quite a it's not quite been the same without Hiromu.
Mhm.
But yeah, so hopefully he's getting better. But it was cool to see my man Shibata out there at the G1. That's my fave, and he can't wrestle anymore either.
Yeah, because he took
Yeah,
one too many hits as well.
he had a hematoma after he headbutted Okada.
Oh Lord.
And yeah, it's so unfair because Hamna, who is a Japanese wrestler who does like these headbutts and stuff,
Mhm.
he was wrestling and freaking literally got paralyzed, was like a quadriplegic for like 2 weeks. And he eventually has made like a full comeback and he's wrestling again. Whereas
Yeah.
whereas like Shibata just headbutted fucking Okada and like passed out after the match and can't wrestle anymore.
Wow.
And yeah, and like the headbutt was like a normal headbutt. It wasn't even
A
like
diving headbutt or anything off the
nothing. It
top
was
rope or
just like a
anything.
No
Yeah.
Ben
headbutt.
Watts, huh?
Yeah, it was just a headbutt. It was because like that was probably when I first started watching New Japan or like kind of understanding what New Japan was people kept talking about Shibata and like how amazing he was, and then he was gone, so I didn't even get to enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah. That was my like Kenny Omega and Shibata were the first two guys that I kind of like. Okay. I'm hearing about Okada and Tanahashi, and they're pretty good, but these two guys right here are who I like. So yeah, it's been very difficult because like basically what Kenny has right now probably would be Shibata.
Yeah.
Probably would have been Shibata getting the championship run right now.
Mhm.
But it didn't happen. So he's now like the head trainer of the San Francisco dojo. So he's still a part of it. So that's cool.
It just makes me feel like I should be able to meet him one day.
Why?
Jessica being like he lives in San Francisco. He goes to Japan on occasion, but like the San Francisco dojo is his. So I'm like, so if I go and visit, I can meet him.
Oh, okay.
Like I can meet him and be like, "You're amazing. I've watched your old matches. Like I think I watched it. I think it was him and Ishii.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I love Ishii. I do. Like I
Yeah,
love Ishii
Tomohiro
so
Ishii
much.
he was the real standout of the G1. He's the MVP man. He had 3 5-star matches in that
Yeah,
tournament. So he's just amazing.
he is. New Japan has some. I started watching New Japan for Kenny. I continue to watch New Japan for everyone else.
Oh yeah. Just to watch. I love watching the young lions progress. I like seeing a guy like Juice Robinson come from nowhere to become like a huge star now in New Japan.
Yeah, he's like never going back to WWE. This is amazing.
I love my guy is Naito, even though we have a love-hate relationship with how he treats championship belts. But when he doesn't have a
It's
title,
cool.
he's my man. That's my thing about Roman. Like you worked so hard, so long to get this fucking belt. Wear the fucking thing. Don't fucking put it on your shoulder backwards. Don't hold it upside down. Wear the fucking thing, man.
Well, I mean, let's be real. Seth came out to the ring without his belt. Like I don't know if we forgot that he's Intercontinental Champion, but he is. He did drop the title to Dolph. Like he won. Seth came out on Monday Night Raw without a belt. And I'm just like, what are we doing with the belt? If he's not going to actually use it and wear it, why is he champion? I don't know. WWE frustrates me. I'm just, you know what? I'm trying. I'm trying. Look, I was watching Raw and I looked down, I looked back up, and like I was watching it. I know I was watching it. I was there. And then they were like, the new tag team champions, Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre. And I was like, they won? I don't know if I missed it, if I just tuned it out. I don't know. I watched Raw all night and had no idea they won those belts.
Well, luckily, I put that clip into the WrestleCast this week. So if you listen to it, you heard what you missed.
Thank you. I haven't listened to it yet. I'll probably listen to it on on Monday because I'll listen to it Monday to figure out what happened the whole week. So I can try to watch Raw again on Monday, and I usually fail at it. But thank you, Don. You're the reason why I continue to watch WWE because you provide me with recaps every week. So at least I know what's going on when I get to the pay-per-view. I'd be so lost without you.
No problem. Well, thank you, ladies, for going into this endeavor with me. Next Saturday, I have to work, but if we do in between 6 and 7, it'll be fine for me again. So
okay.
Just let me know when you guys are ready, and we'll do it.
Would Sunday be better for anybody?
I do open houses on Sunday, so if we did it Sunday, it'd have to be like after 4.
Same for me. I have to work next Sunday, and I don't get off work till 4.
Oh, that'll be fine for me. I have to be in DC on Saturday, and so that way, you know, I'm taking the MARC train, so that's an hour.
All right, so
some other distances. So like just to be
at like 7 or 6, whichever time you say, Jupiter Julep.
Yeah, Sunday Saturday. I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'd rather you guys not be waiting for me.
Okay. So Sunday.
Sunday. I mean, let me check the calendar. Sunday.
You saying it? Let me check my calendar.
Yeah.
Being a real estate agent be having me out here.
You're staring at me. Don't touch that. Okay. I mean, there's like no. That's your homeboy. Yeah, you hear quiet. It's never ever quiet. So I opened the door and now he's like, yeah. I had to. I can't just leave him out there with them kids without supervision for too long. So, or my mama, really. So, I mean, there's like, I didn't buy tickets to this Vibrate Higher Expo. So, and it's over with at 6 anyway. So, anytime on Sunday after 4 is perfect for me.
Okay. So, let's do 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. for those Central Time Zone folks.
Woot.
All right. And that should.
Wait. One more time. What was it?
6.
Okay.
p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So let me put that down for the. That's the 16th, right? Oh, we're going to have to do that. Yeah, 6.
Oh,
that's perfect because that's Hell in a Cell. So that's perfect.
All right. What's wrong?
I'm gonna say that's Hell in a Cell time. So we should be done right around the time the show starts.
Yep.
Oh, I don't have Hell in a Cell listed. Wait a minute. I see. Yes, I know. He's in here. To, safe from you.
Yeah.
We'll be recorded during the pre-show.
Well, right before the pre-show comes on. I think the pre-show comes on at 7. So that'll work out perfect. Yes, next Sunday, the 16th.
Next week.
Hell in a Cell. Yep.
Oh, I have it reversed. I have Hell in a Cell on the 30th. I guess that's Extreme Rules. No. Oh, no. That was the old one. That was the old schedule. Because I did it at the beginning of the year. I filled them all in the beginning of the year when they had separate pay-per-views.
Yeah, we don't do that no more.
Yeah. Okay, that's what it is. Alrighty. Well, let me update that right now.
Yeah, because I gotta find a guest for this week. Since we like to play Who You Got with people.
Who you got?
Yeah, it's fun we play with a guest. Adds one more person to it. So I have to search high and wide for someone. I had someone in mind, but she didn't get back with me. So I have to try someone else. But ladies, thank you. I'm going to go hang out with my family and go steal some hugs from my mom because she's in town.
Oh, go do your thing.
Yeah, we about to go eat dinner.
Thank y'all.
Shrimp and
crabs
calling my name. Bye, guys.
All right. Bye.
You too.
Google.